The LA Chargers had a very, very interesting season. Some highs where they finally made the playoffs with Justin Herbert, but man, was it a low at the end of the season by losing a 27-0 lead in the playoffs. So a lot of things to talk about. Moving on to 2023, they still have a very talented roster. The big question is, how do they bounce back? We got David Droegemeier here with Locked On Chargers to discuss all things Chargers today. Let's get into this. David, what is going on, my man? How are you doing?
Doing really, really well. I'm doing a lot better than my dogs who are going crazy in the background. I definitely apologize for that. But anytime we get an opportunity to talk about some Chargers football, I am always pumped up and excited.
Absolutely, absolutely. I appreciate you taking the time to join us on Big B Sports Talk again, everybody. Remember to like, follow, subscribe. We appreciate all the support here, my man. So getting into this thing. So the Chargers, the season last year, like I said, first time that Herbert, he made the playoffs, that the Chargers had made the playoffs with Staley, and then the bottom just kind of fell out. You know, that tough playoff loss. There's a lot of people have been talking about in the offseason. I guess the main question that I have to ask is, how does the team fight back and bounce back from that tough loss?
Yeah, I mean that was a really, really, really hard game to watch. That's
Right.
just because, I mean, you get up so big. You're up 27 to 3 basically at halftime, and you know your defense just went out there and had a just spectacular performance. Asante Samuel Jr. gets 3 interceptions, and it just seems like he's all over the field. He's all over the place, and the Chargers could do no wrong. But I think the underlying issues there were still there. I mean, a lot of those scoring opportunities came from short fields because the Chargers defense put them in positions to go out there and score quickly. And then in the second half, the Chargers' inability to run the football or to get anything going on the ground did not allow them to just extend 1 or 2 more drives.
Right.
You extend 1 or 2 more drives, and we're talking about a completely different ending to the season here. But the Chargers offense in the running game didn't do enough, and the Chargers defense didn't get one stop. I mean, that's all that really would have took in the second half of that game, and that goes from, you know, a tremendous victory that everyone's touting to a horrifically terrible loss that could be a stain on your entire, you know, history of your organization. And so I think with this, you have to learn from your mistakes. I mean, I think you can't dwell on it. I mean, it already happened. But you got to allow this to motivate you, and you got to, you got to fix the problems. It's stop the run. It's get a running game that, you know, can actually carry you when you need it to. Like when you're up big in those situations, you have to be able to run the football, even when they know you are trying to run it. Correct. And I think that was part of the reason why, you know, the Chargers got rid of their offensive coordinator and brought in a new one. But yeah, they got to learn from their mistakes so they don't end up in that same situation.
Yeah, you're right. It was tough to watch because it's just what you said. 1 or 2 first downs and they win. Literally, they win. And that's what's so tough is that they just couldn't get it when they need it. Or a defense, just stop them once. Yeah. Just once.
Literally once.
And it was just a complete 180 from the first half on the defensive side because the defense literally to be honest, I'm not sure that I've seen a team dominate another team in the playoffs like that in the first half in a long, long time. I mean, the Chargers.
Well, it just gave you the feeling like, hey, this is it. Like it's done.
Yeah.
Game's over.
Like game was over.
We don't even need to see the second half. But
exactly.
That's why they play it instead of, just watching.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So taking a step forward, looking at Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
I'm a guy that, and I can be honest with this, where a lot of people have anointed Justin Herbert to this stratosphere of quarterbacks without really having accomplished enough or really a whole lot. But we see the talent. Obviously, the talent is there. One thing that I don't know that a lot of people, I know some people may know, Herbert played hurt last year.
Very hurt.
So that's the thing that I don't think people understood. I know they saw him get hurt in the Kansas City game. But he played hurt all year. Is this a big bounce back redemption year for him?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I mean, I think people need to understand that Justin Herbert was top 5 in passing yards last year with fractured rib cartilage for almost 75% of the season. And, for people who don't understand what I'm talking about, like you have your ribs and then you have the cartilage that goes over your rib cage. That basically is where you feel everything. Okay. And so the first couple of weeks, he had to understand, first of all, he's playing with an injection, right?
Correct.
I mean, the first couple of weeks, he can barely move, but he's not going to let his team down. So he's going to go out there and try to figure it out and try to gut it out. And not only was he hurt, but his left tackle also got hurt, missed most of the season. Keenan Allen, one of his go-to wide receivers, hurt, missed most of the season. Mike Williams, one of his go up and get it in any situation type of receiver, hurt, in and out of the lineup. So, and there's just so much inconsistency that the Chargers had to overcome and Justin Herbert had to overcome, and he still got his team to the playoffs. And I think one of the things that angers me the most is the people out there that run with the narrative that wins are a QB stat. I am very anti that agreement. I think, or that just comment. I think it's very lazy because the quarterback doesn't play defense. No. He doesn't block. He doesn't catch the football. He throws the ball. And do I understand that your record is going to be tied to the quarterback a little bit? Sure. Yeah, I understand that. But also, let's not forget that Justin Herbert broke pretty much every single statistical NFL record through his first 3 seasons as a quarterback. And so I think a lot of people forget that. And I understand, you got to win games in order to earn that next level, that elite, that Patrick Mahomes type of level, right? And Justin Herbert has not achieved that yet. But statistically, I think you cannot just throw that out of the conversation when you're talking about him. So this year, he's back healthy. He has his full offensive line in front of him. He has his full complement of weapons with him. And he has an offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore coming from the Cowboys who has a track record of success throwing the ball down the field, also running the football and running it efficiently, which is something the Chargers desperately need. Their running game has been horrible outside of scoring touchdowns the last 2 seasons. Right. So that's something that has to improve. So under the tutelage and under the leadership of Kellen Moore and unlocking the full physical gifts that Justin Herbert truly brings to the table, I think you're going to see an MVP type of season out of Justin Herbert this season.
Got it. And, I live here in Dallas. So Kellen Moore was a coveted commodity here for quite some time. I mean, he was a holdover from, Jason Garrett's staff. They run the football. He will run the football. Yeah. So getting him in place as offensive coordinator, I think is a big, big key. I think it's going to help the Chargers tremendously. And just like you said, they throw the ball down the field. He loves to throw the ball down the field. That's absolutely going to help.
Well, the Chargers needed to make a move and upgrade their football team without necessarily adding players because they just didn't have the resources available to them this offseason to go out there and sign guys. They had to restructure their biggest contracts, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and now they all have cap hits over $35 million next season. So basically, they just restructured some money, re-signed a couple of guys they had to just retain and keep in-house. So they had to look at other ways to upgrade their team. And so that, was the reason why they had to go out and get Kellen Moore. And that's why I'm very excited because I just think that under Joe Lombardi, that offense was very limited. I think it was restrained. I used an analogy on another show. Justin Herbert was a dog on a leash that just was not able to go out there and run and really be the show dog that he really is, because he can do anything on the football field. Like he has a strong arm. Like he can make any throw. He can throw on the run. He can run. He's a very, very fast processor. Like he is one of those build a quarterbacks, just built from the ground up. Like he has all the attributes that you want, but I think he needs to be put in position to take a little bit of that restraint away and say, hey, Justin, go let the physical gifts take over and go throw the ball down the field and do what you can do better than almost anybody on the planet.
Well, they're going to let him do it. I can assure you of that because Kellen Moore is all about that. So it's going to be fun to watch because he's ultra talented. And I mentioned it before. I mean, they have an offense, especially when healthy, offense that can match just about anybody. That's the big key. Really do.
It's the health. Like they have to have it this year.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, that's the whole thing is like Justin Herbert can't express himself completely if his offensive line isn't intact and his weapons are there and ready and available to him. And so also that's why I think I like the fact that the Chargers drafted Quentin Johnston and added a young weapon to pair with Justin Herbert. Because let's face it, Keenan Allen is great. Mike Williams is phenomenal, but those guys are either approaching 30 or over the age of 30. Correct. So they need to partner Justin Herbert with somebody that can stay there and grow with him for several years out of his career.
Right. The Keenan Allen one, because here's the thing. Keenan Allen, to me, is still very, very good. And he's not a speed demon, but he never was a speed demon.
No, never.
But he's very, very good, but he's got to be healthy. He's just got to be healthy. And and his health, it's never just a 1 or 2 week thing. It's a month and a half, 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's major injuries, or it's a long stretch of time where he's very, very healthy. And I think for some people out there that say, oh, hey, Keenan's old and maybe he lost a step, I would point to the per game stats after he returned from his injury, and that would completely dispel any of that. He is still a route running savant. He still has extreme quickness with his feet, and he has the intelligence and the game recall to understand what defenses are trying to do to him, and he can set them up appropriately, and still he gets open better than almost anybody in the league. So he's still a third down machine.
Absolutely. People, they do say that. People try to say, well, he's lost a step. I'm like, first of all, he was never a speed demon.
Never,
Second of all, have you watched – just go watch him play the football game. Yeah. The guy is phenomenal. He is still phenomenal.
Well, you just talk to coaches and you hear them say, hey, I use Keenan Allen's tape as teaching tape. That's how I show people how to run routes. That's how I show people to get releases. Keenan Allen is the example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So also on this side or that side of the football, we talked about the running game.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler. What is his future with the Chargers? I know there was a lot of talk about him wanting a new contract. Running back position, just that position right now is just getting butchered when it comes to paying guys. It's not, it used to be you hit 30 and then, they don't want to get, now it's 26 and they're like, you know what? We're done with you. I'm like, my goodness, this is insane. So what do you see as the future of Austin Eckler with the Chargers?
Yeah, so, just to kind of go into it real quick, Austin Eckler requested a trade from the Chargers because he wanted to get, the top of the market money, which if you look at his stats and his production over the last 2 years, it is warranted. He scored 38 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons, which is far and away more than anyone else in the NFL by a large margin. So does he deserve it? Yeah, I would say the stats would indicate and his production would indicate that he does. But when you look at the market and you look at and you understand that the free agent contract from the running back that was the highest was $6.25 million per season. And guess what? Austin Eckler's making that right now. Right. So that just goes to show you that teams understand that they can find value at the running back position anywhere, whether it's undrafted free agency, whether it's the later rounds of the draft. It's just so much more cost effective to go that route versus signing running backs in free agency that the money, whether they deserve it or not, is not out there. And teams are not going to compromise on that until they are forced to do so. So to answer your question, I think Austin Eckler and the Chargers did come together and the Chargers gave him a little bit of an incentive bump. Just things that he's accomplished the last couple of years that should be easy for him to retain. Gave him an extra about $1.75 million to add, to his potential earnings so they can kind of just put this all behind us for this season. And I think Austin Eckler will play his, he'll do his job. He'll play out the season, but I think this will be the end of the relationship between Austin Eckler and the Chargers after this season. I think the writing's on the wall. I think Austin wants to go out there and try to get the last big contract that he's ever going to be able to earn. And he's going to go to the highest bidder. That's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that that's the way that the market is going, because Austin Eckler is a heck of a football player.
He is.
When I was talking with other people about the Chargers, one thing to keep in mind as far as Eckler, remember how he got his job.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon did the same thing. It was like, I want to hold out. I want this other deal.
And they offered him $10 million per season too.
And he said no.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he's made $10 million combined since. And
I think he did just with his deal with the Broncos over those 2 years. But yeah, I mean, after that and after all of the fumbles that he has continued to issue, last time I checked, I think he was on the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely just been a downhill kind of slide for Melvin Gordon.
Absolutely. So moving to the other side of the football, I mean, I keep mentioning, the Chargers roster is just it's still incredible. How good can the defense be this year?
That answer will come from how well they can tackle and how well they can stop the run, because the last 2 years the Chargers have allowed way too many explosive plays. And I'm talking about runs over 12 yards, passes over 15 yards. The Chargers have allowed way too many. And also just 40-yard rushes. The Chargers allowed 6 of them last year. And that's atrocious. And a lot of that is just guys not being in the right alignment, and also their perimeter defense not tackling good enough. There's way too many missed tackles when you look at the tape back on this football team. So they need to get aligned properly, and they need to tackle. They need to get guys on the ground. That is going to be where they take a defense that showed flashes, showed some really good game plans, and is definitely chock full of talent. There's no question. If this defense is healthy and they have Joey Bosa on one side, Khalil Mack on the other, Derwin James in the back end, Eric Kendricks in the middle, and Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson in the front, they have a lot of talent there, and they can definitely get the job done. But it's going to come down to them limiting the explosive plays and them tackling much better than they have the last 2 seasons. And for crying out loud, please have at least a league average run defense. That is all I am asking for, because last year, Brian, it was 5.4 yards per carry allowed.
Woo.
It's just disgusting. That's a first down literally twice.
Yep.
Just handing off the football. You got a new set of downs. That cannot happen again. And I don't care about the light boxes. I understand you want to put a roof over the coverage and you don't want to allow the explosive plays, but you got to change things. You got to make some adjustments. They got to stop the run a lot better than they have the last 2 seasons.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the talent is there.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's just what you said. You can put whatever kind of scheme that you want to out there. But if guys aren't tackling, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
And so that's where the difference came in. What you said with the Chargers run defense. Guys are there. You just got to be able to bring guys to the ground. I know it's a new age. I know they don't practice that as often because you can't do that. It's totally different than what it was 5-10 years ago as far as practice wise.
Yeah.
But everybody's in the same boat. When it comes to that, you got to be able to get guys on the ground, especially in the run game.
Yeah.
And it was a struggle.
Paramount. Yeah. It was more than a struggle. I mean, it was just bad. I mean, you just put on the tape and you see guys getting outrun. You see guys getting ran over. I mean, you just see bad placement, bad routes, like going to the ball carrier. It was all bad, and so that they gotta change that. And I know it's simplistic, and I understand the analysis here is very simple, but this is what it will take. Like the talent that the Chargers have at each level of their defense, if they just correct the tackling and they stop the run better, this is going to be a windfall of interceptions. It's going to be a windfall of sacks, and it's going to be so much more important for Justin Herbert too, because it's going to give him the football that many more times as well. I mean, you got to have that connected football team, and the too often were the Chargers defense getting ran all over last year.
Correct. Well, and we're talking about it being simplistic, but at the same time, we can have all the fancy schemes and all this kind of stuff, but football on the defensive side of the ball, it comes tackling. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're in. Just tackle.
Number one, tackling. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, it's not that difficult. So, speaking of schemes, Brandon Staley, a lot of questions the year before. There's been, I'm sure he's taken a ton of heat coming off of this playoff loss.
Oh, yeah.
And from the year before, which was happened at the end of the season, is this a make or break year for him?
Definitely. It's a make or break year for him and the general manager, if we want to be quite honest. Tom Telesco has been the general manager of the Chargers for 10 years. Right. So he's hired 3 different head coaches in that span. Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn, and now with Brandon Staley. And I don't think he's going to get another opportunity. And the way that this roster is built, and because of the contracts and their cap hits that I mentioned earlier, this is going to be the last time that this collection of talent is going to be available for the Chargers. That's it. After this season, there will be serious change because not only do you have to accommodate for those moves, but you're going to also be paying Justin Herbert one of the biggest contracts in NFL history. So your roster construction is going to be forced to be changed. You're going to have to adjust your philosophy. So this is the last time. This is the last chance for this collection of very high-priced talent to be able to go out there and get the job done and go win a championship. And so if the Chargers don't at least, and I mean bare minimum, win at least a playoff game, and I'm probably saying multiple playoff games if my heart, if I want to be honest with where I'm at. I think it has to be a AFC Championship game appearance for either one of those two gentlemen to continue in their current positions with the Chargers. I think that sense of urgency has to be there, and it's only heightened after that performance or lack thereof last season.
Well, and it's tough to say that about somebody's job, but at the same time, we're here. It's football. It's a results business.
It's a business.
And it's a results business, man. And, the year before, I thought, actually, be honest with you, I thought that was worse. I know giving up a 27-point lead is horrible, just absolutely horrendous. But the year before was worse. Yeah. And just, a lot of people always explained it to me that Staley always plays analytical nerd football. It gets him in trouble. And, when it works, he looks like a genius. But when it doesn't work, he looks like an idiot. And sometimes, you saw some things on the sideline. Guys are just fed. They're like, what are we doing? It's like basic football. Just do that.
Yeah, but that performance against the Raiders for Justin Herbert, it was absolutely insane. He hit on, I think, 10 different fourth downs to be able to keep the Chargers in it. It's just not like you can't watch that game and look at the quarterback and say that he left anything out there on the football field. He literally gave every single ounce of himself to try to win that game. But again, it was the Chargers defense unable to make a stop that led to them ultimately losing that game. So
that's right. I remember because the Raiders would just say, we're going to run it.
Yeah, they were content to just run out the clock, tie it, and then we both go to the playoffs. But that was not meant to be. Couldn't get the guy on the ground.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So, well, stay, like I said, a make or break year, man.
Yeah.
They have the talent. I know I keep coming back to it, but I'm going to keep coming back to it because it's the truth.
It is.
It is. Because my wife is a diehard Chiefs fan.
Okay.
So those games, I mean, the Chargers are right there, if not winning those games with the Chiefs.
They're right there. There's no other team in the NFL that play the Chiefs tougher than the Chargers. No. Every single last one of their last 4 or 5 games have been settled by a touchdown or less. All of them.
Yes. So for me, that's the reason that I can keep saying this.
Yeah.
They got to get over this hump. They got to do it because my thing is if they get over the hump and they get to a Kansas City in a playoff, who knows what's going to happen? Because
you can't just automatically say Chiefs. Kansas City is going to run through them.
No, they're not afraid of the Chiefs. They're not afraid because they have beaten them several times and know that they can beat them.
Yeah.
So I think seeing that a lot of people say, Mahomes and Burrow and Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Let it get to a Herbert. And again, I was a guy, like I mentioned before, that I don't like anointing him before he's done anything, but the guy is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not be stupid about this.
Right.
I would love to see a Herbert Mahomes in a playoff game, whether it's the championship game or not. Now, that don't get me wrong, I would love that.
That would be huge.
Man, but just to see them go back and forth in a playoff game, I think would be phenomenal. I think the Chargers.
Well, it's just it's appointment television, man. Like that would be something that people would, whether you're a Chiefs fan or a Charger fan, if you're a football fan, that's a game that you're gonna want to watch because there is firepower and extreme talent on both sides.
Absolutely. So we're still early, after mini camps and OTAs. Is there anybody right now that you have seen or people are talking about that maybe the fans don't know but should get to know here soon for the upcoming season?
Yeah, so for the Chargers, I think for a couple of years, it's been, Donald Parham Jr. is such an incredible talent. This is a tight end that's 6'8", okay, and has incredible open field skills. Like with the ball in his hands, he moves a lot quicker than you expect a guy of that size to be able to move, but he has not been able to overcome the injuries.
Right.
He dealt with a very serious head injury, concussion stuff that put him out for a long time. And then last year, he just could not really come back from a hamstring injury. So talent and potential have always been there for Donald Parham Jr. It's just been availability. One of the most important things in football.
Absolutely.
Is availability being one of the best abilities. If you cannot get on the field, you cannot help me. Absolutely. So for Donald Parham Jr., if he is healthy and he is on the field, he will be an impact player, especially in the red zone. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. There's nobody on your defense that is 6'8". Okay.
No.
It's just, he is a nightmare to cover, especially in that type of space. So if he's healthy, I see him being a red zone demon for the Chargers this year.
Gotcha. So taking a step and just kind of trying to wrap this thing up and put a bow on it. I don't like doing record predictions this early. We got training camp coming up. Unfortunately, it's football, so injuries are going to happen. It's the way it works.
Yeah.
Having said that, while we're sitting here today, almost the last day of June, at the end of June, what are you thinking or what do you predict? Because I think that the Chargers win at least 11 football games. That's what I see for them. I think they're really, really good. I think they've tasted some goodness getting to the playoffs. And I think that playoff loss has left such a sour taste in their mouth. I think they're going to just come out with their hair on fire. I think 11 wins is the minimum for the Chargers this year.
So I think for the Chargers, it's health. It's such a big part of this equation. And I think if you tell me that the Chargers are going to have Joey Bosa for 14 games, if they're going to have Rashawn Slater out there available, if they're going to have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams out there for 14 to 15 games, then, man, like there's almost no limit to what this team can accomplish. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. And I do believe Joey Bosa is going to be more available this year, and I think that is going to make such an incredible impact because you can't double team Khalil Mack anymore. Like that was the whole vision, was trying to pair Joey Bosa with Khalil Mack. So you had to pick your poison. You had to try to figure out who am I going to double team on this, any given snap here. And so I think him being available on the defense and the Chargers hopefully having some just better health than they have the last couple of years. I am in agreement with you. I've already did kind of a way too early type of prediction. I think I'm at 11-6. I can definitely see 12-5 as well. I think the ability is there, but it just seems like every year the Chargers lose a game they have no business to lose. So that's why I'm kind of on the fence with the 11 and 12 wins, but I'm right there in that area. And I think that will be close to being able to challenge for the AFC West, but I think it will lock down a wild card spot at the least.
Absolutely. Well, man, thank you, David, for taking the time to speak with us. If you got time in the future, we would love to have you back on even before the season gets going, man. So I want to thank you for, like I said, for making time to come on the show and talk a little Chargers football.
Always, man. I appreciate the invite. Thanks for reaching out to me. I had a really good time, and I'll be more than happy to jump on here with you again.
All right. Thank you, and we will talk to you guys soon.